Everybody gangsta, but we never see you flexing on your true enemies. Hey, I forgive myself for what I plan to do to you. No more depending on a ghost to do what I need to do. Never will I beg for justice from the likes of you. Your destruction is my goal. I decided to let you know you are done here. I call upon the spirit of the beast sleeping inside our people to awaken. I call for the spirit of warfare to come sit upon the south side. Hey, I forgive myself for what I plan to do to you. No more depending on a ghost to do what I need to do. Never will I beg for justice from the likes of you. Your destruction is my goal. I decided to let you know you are done here. All of your tricks, all of your schemes, evil dreams, and all of your lies, all of your murdering my people in the scheme of things just seems to be buying us time. Time to prepare, and shake this irrational fear of you. Time for us to shave our hair to prepare for a final fight with you. Hey, I forgive myself for what I plan to do to you. No more depending on a ghost to do what I need to do. Never will I beg for justice from the likes of you. Your destruction is my goal. I decided to let you know you are done here. Murder is your pleasure, kill for less. A devil tester, evil jester, nigga blesser. Always running with the beast. Whenever you get around, bullets flying, people dying, baby crying. Hear the siren, all destruction must increase. Government cooperation and alignment. Your assignment is to murder all the people of originality. You are never to be trusted, so disgusting is your presence. Manchurian candidate will destroy new society. Everybody gangsta, but we never see you flexing on your true enemies. Hey, I forgive myself for what I plan to do to you. No more depending on a ghost to do what I need to do. Never will I beg for justice from the likes of you. Your destruction is my goal. I decided to let you know you are done here. What's up, everybody? Hope you all are doing good. And we have no bad news so far. Life has its ways of, controlling some things with us, but we deal with that the best that we can and keep it moving. Glad to have you all in attendance for my little thing, man. This is feeling really cool, man.
I don't have a million people, but I got you all. I thank you all for being around, you know. But I don't know if you all saw the title of my video. Yeah, got one of my babies in here. But yeah, man, this these events have had me thinking about some stuff, man. I think that was what people are calling me, asking me, saying, "Oh, we need to redo the whole, you know, infect thing, or we need to create something new." I'm just like, bro, how are we gonna do that if we barely have men that can, follow direction and not fight each other over simple things and you know fighting over women or cannot agree on things that need to be agreed on. We never see that in Mr. Caucasian's military. Is we got one word. You signed up for, you know, the event. You signed up for the mission. Now listen to that word, and we're gonna come in here and we're gonna do what's needed and what is necessary. And we need that amongst our people, and we don't have it. We really do not. We had it in the 60s, we had it in the 50s, we had it in the 40s. We had it. But the secret ingredients to that is families. We got to have families where there's a strong father in the house. You got the mama in the house doing her job, you know. Without that, we got nothing, man. I know a lot of people is not going to necessarily agree. There's going to be exceptions to that rule, but we never judge a situation uh, by the exception. We always choose the rule. Always. You know, we got to build our men back up, man. Look at us. We out here wilding. We out here doing dummy nigga stuff. We out here shooting up people. But we won't shoot the enemy, though. How we gonna build? How we gonna build? It's not going to be possible. So we gotta fix these relationships. I know people was having hating on, Mr. Kevin Sam and what he had to say. But he had his days where he was being a jerk, okay. But most of us that had fathers, I did not. We realize and know that sometimes daddy can be a jerk. Sometimes daddy can be a jerk, man. But when daddy be a jerk to us, sometimes it teaches us the qualities that we need to have so that we're able to deal with real life. Because truthfully speaking, daddy being a jerk is nothing compared to what real life will do to us out here. So Kevin Sam, he was doing what he was supposed to do. He was trying to be you know, the one that would help save us from ourselves. Okay? A lot of the ladies was angry because of the things he said, but most of his followers were women. That's really weird. You know, most of his followers were women. And he had already gotten on the men. We just took it and rode off with it and corrected ourselves. But outside that, he was speaking truth. The thing that he would tell the men that got me, he was like, you know, how you gonna be a man overweight with no money, nowhere to live? You ugly as hell, you know what I'm saying? Your hair not combed, you know, you got a body odor, you know, you're waking up late every day. Like, what the hell are you doing? How you gonna expect and command anything, or have someone, or worse, have some woman, you know, choosing up on you when you're not ready as a man? You understand? We have to do our basic due diligence as men. Get yourself in order, get your body in order, get your mind in order, you know, learn how to talk. Just basic stuff. And this is where family comes in. Because a lot of our men are a little, I can't say men, because back in the day, you used to have to earn the privilege of calling yourself a man. So you're just basically a male until you graduate. Like when we were in boot camp, you know, you was a recruit until you became a Marine. And Marines wear boots with their uniform, you know? The uniform not complete without the boot. So until you the Marine, you gotta wear tennis shoes with the uniform. You understand? So a lot of our men are walking around with tennis shoes on. They have not graduated yet. You know, I was there at one time, and it took me joining the Marines to see, you know, I knew I was looking for something. I knew what it was, but I did not really understand how I was going to get it. But I knew if I got around enough men that were actually on their purpose and goal, then some of that might rub off on me. I knew that much. I knew that. And when I joined, there was other guys in there who were just as clueless as I was. We had similar stories. We were all raised by our moms, and you know, the drill instructors had to beat the crap out of us, like literally. You know, some of us sitting in there crying, some of us in there rocking in the corner, some of us had to get carried away because we was too weak to deal with it. But that's the truth. Becoming a man is hard. And back in the day, we had fathers that would help us through that journey, but we do not have that anymore. So, Mr. Caucasian, he did us real good and bad. He made sure we didn't have any male leadership, which basically destroyed the warrior class. Now our warriors are backward. Instead of shooting him, we shooting each other. We shooting grandma. We shooting aunties coming out of church. We shooting, you know, the lady up the street. We shooting the wig off. You know, you don't wear the lace front yet. You just got the regular wig. You know, shooting little kids in the park playing. We just disrespectful. And I know back in the day that would get you beat. Where's the consequences? Dudes be disrespectful. There's no more consequences. Like back in the day, you couldn't do that. You couldn't say certain stuff to certain dudes, or in public, or say something in front of ladies in public. Like, there's many different levels that we are missing that is keeping us from being able to build upon, something sturdy. And it starts with rebuilding our relationships as men and women, black men and black women. Chiller from the block says truth. Yeah, man. Torian says, build a house on broken foundation, it will surely fail. Absolutely, sir. Coney McIntosh, he says, Fire, I always thought you had the real warrior mentality when you were part of the impact. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you thought that. I'm glad you thought that. I got a video. I have to declare my fair use so I do not get a copyright strike in here. CNN. I'm gonna play that. This video was about basically how our dating scene has fallen off, and how there's not many men as we have thought that are actually out here, creating relationships. So here it is. Can y'all hear it? Hold on. Let me fix this sound real quick. Oh Lord. Up audio. Let me know if you can hear it. Hmm. Mm. Oh, there it is. Goofball. How am I doing? Try now.
Last week, I delved here into recent data from the CDC suggesting major problems with regard to the mental health of our adolescents, surges in depression and suicidal ideation, especially true for our girls. This week, I found cause to worry about young men. This headline from The Hill, it caught my eye. Most young men are single, most young women are not. The story reported that as of 2022, Pew Research Center found 30% of U.S. adults are neither married living with a partner, nor engaged in a committed relationship. Nearly half of all young adults are single. Now, look at these numbers. 34% of women, twice as many, a whopping 63% of men. What explains that? I pulled the Pew study and I read with interest. Turns out since 2019, the share of single men who say they're looking for dates or a relationship has declined from 61% to 50%. In 2018, 28% of men ages 18 to 30 reported they'd had no sex in the past year, compared with 18% of women of that age. The Hill report said men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved, sexually dormant, friendless, and lonely. They stand at the vanguard of an epidemic of declining marriage, sexuality, and relationships that afflicts all of young America. Among the causes, among the factors, a reliance on social media and online porn. But also, more young women are hooking up with each other or dating and marrying slightly older men.
All right. Did y'all hear what he said about the 20-year-olds not really having friends like that? That's sad. Like back in the day, back in the 90s, there was a lot of us that had, we had friends. You could go out, you could watch your parents go out. They had, special days with each other. The men could go to the barbershop, and women had their little women's groups. Like I remember there was groups of women that would just get dressed up for seemingly no reason. And they would just go to one of their houses and just be in there for like 8 hours. Just women, all dressed up, smelling good, looking nice, high heels, hats, nice hairdos. They just in there. You don't know what the hell they doing. They just in there. We don't see that anymore. We used to see dudes pretty much doing the same thing. They would all go and cook out, or they would all, get tools and go to one dude's house and work on a car or something. Just a bunch of men not fighting, not doing nigga stuff, not just being 100% productive. I know they in there, helping each other with their relationship problems, or you fixing your car with your guy friend. You a man, you gonna be like, hey bro, something wrong with you. What's going on? I don't know, man. Just Sandra not acting right. What's she talking about? Well, she said this, that, and the other thing, and it kind of messed me up a little bit. Well, that's gonna be all right, man. Marriage be like that sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Man talks. Woman talks. We don't do that anymore. There is none of that anymore. And I think the generations that failed, well, I wouldn't say they failed because we all have fallen off, but the different generations before us were affected by the plots of the Caucasians in different ways, strategically on those very purposes to cause the effect that we see today. So now we have these people, these males, these young men who's socially awkward. They don't hang out. When you in psychology class, we call this socialization, okay? When you want to see a specific type of behavior, you have to socialize that behavior, okay? When you want your kid to behave a certain way, you socialize them around kids that act the way that you want them to act. Like you would never socialize your kid with, the hood types. You would only socialize them, with the types that are high achieving. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing with us. If we're not hanging around manly men, who are we hanging around and what traits are we picking up? We're watching porn all day. Watching porn is bad. It messes up your mind. It destroys your ability to connect spiritually with the Most High. Truthfully speaking, that's a fact. Okay, but I digress.
And heterosexual women are getting more choosy. Other troubling statistics about men come from a 2021 study from the Survey Center for American Life. They found the share of men who have 6 or more close friends, which in 1990 was 55%, by 2021 had shrunk by half. Meanwhile, those with literally 0 close friends, which stood at 3% in 1990, has zoomed to 15%. An expert quoted by The Hill said this disconnect can have catastrophic consequences for young men. Quote, in the worst case scenario, the young American man's social disconnect can have tragic consequences. Young men commit suicide at 4 times the rate of young women. Younger women are largely responsible for rising rates of mass shootings, a trend that some researchers link to their growing social isolation.
All right, listen to what he said there. In the worst case scenarios, the young American man's social disconnect can have tragic consequences. What's a lot of the key factors in these Caucasian males that be shooting up these schools and buildings and junk? They socially awkward. They don't have any type female connection. A lot of them angry. A lot of them don't have their dads. You got some that do. I remember maybe was it 10 years ago, it was a couple of shooters whose parents, whose father had bought him the gun, His dad didn't give it to him for that purpose, but he just chose to be a dirtbag, okay? But that's a rare occurrence. These Caucasian boys be missing their daddy too. But see, the difference between the Caucasian male and the black male is this. Caucasian males are empowered to feel like the environment belongs to them, so they can do whatever they want in it with, minimal consequences. We, on the other hand, we already know that our environment belongs to Mr. Caucasian, so we not welcome. So what do? We internalize those feelings and those ideations, and we turn our violence onto ourselves. That's a part of passive aggression. That's what we do. But look at it. It says, younger men are largely responsible for raising rates of mass shootings, a trend some researchers link to their growing social isolation. Think about, just think about being in jail and you get put on what's that thing they call the hole? You just by yourself in a cell for a week, 3 weeks, a month, 2. Some people got 2 years in the hole just isolated on their own. Like that's inhumane. But you have people out here who really live like that every day. This is why the United States is #1 for mental illness. Like, we have to start taking care of our health as men and young males.
Well, those words reminded me of a conversation that I had over a year ago right here on CNN with NYU professor Scott Galloway.
But the issue is when you have a group of men, the lower half of attractiveness of men in online dating, which has doubled, now it's about half of relationships, and the top 20% of men in terms of attractiveness get about 60% of the interest, you end up with a group of men that are more prone to conspiracy theory, more prone to misogynistic content, more prone to not believe in climate change. So this is the American story if it's written with a pen whose ink is failing young men, does not end well. This is an existential crisis, failing young men.
As always, Professor Galloway was prescient. Back with me now is Scott Galloway. He's a professor of marketing at NYU Stern School of Business. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's the host of the Professor G podcast and author of multiple best-selling books, most recently, Adrift, America in 100 Charts. Scott, thanks for returning. Hasn't the advantage always been to those with the looks and or the money? What's changed?
First off, Mike, I just want to say thank you for raising this issue a year ago when a lot of media companies were afraid to talk about this for fear of it being pro-men was somehow being anti-women. Look, this is returning to the natural order of things. For the majority of history, a small percentage of men have had the majority of the mating opportunities. But in America, we decided to make a huge investment in what would probably be the greatest innovation in history, and that is in the middle class. From 1945 to 1947, 7 million men returned from war were discharged from the service, and we decided to give them the GI Bill, subsidized mortgages. We saw education rates go from 5 to 45%. They were valued, and we had such a strong manufacturing base that you had massive marriage and household formation. And some men were seen as more economically and emotionally viable. And you've seen the reverse happen with the offshoring of much of our manufacturing base, with a society that quite frankly doesn't value young men. When we talk about problems with people of color or women, we see it as a systemic societal problem. When we see problems or the stats that you just mentioned, we see it as accountability, or that men just need to level up. But married households and household formation are better citizens. They vote, they save at twice the rate, they're less likely to commit crimes. And we have fewer and fewer viable men. We have a dearth of economically and emotionally viable men. But the middle class is an accident. Unless you invest in it, it doesn't happen. Eisenhower decided to invest $500 billion in a national highway project that created tons of jobs. We have, and by the way, the tax rate back then was 91%. We raised money and we redistributed in social programs that made young people more economically viable.
Now, I know y'all heard he said that we have a very, very small amount of viable men. Now, we know they're talking about white men, but we can apply that to ourselves because we're a smaller population of them. And if this is affecting all of us, we know it's affecting us worse. Okay? We know for a fact that most black males these days have no, what do you call it, handy skills. Like you're not handy at all. You don't have a tool set in your house. Like my kids, they grew up seeing me with all types and kinds of tools. Some of the tools I even invented, I made for special things. You understand? Like, my kids went on, little jobs and adventures with me, then seeing me do stuff. A lot of dudes, when you don't have a dad, guess what? You're not going to see your dad doing things as a man. Now, I didn't have my dad, but I had uncles and cousins. That was all about that life. Being a man and in the street stuff too. So that kind of got me by, but I still fell into the cracks because we all need the ones that brought us into the earth. We need them. There are no substitutes. Okay? To be a viable man, you must first have examples of what a viable man is. You got granddaddy. Granddaddy could have been a farmer. He could have been a carpenter. He could have been a plumber. He could have been some type of writer or a singer or instrument player. Something productive that brings in money. Okay? When you're viable, that means you have the ability, a great possibility of being a person that is able to produce. I remember going to Walmart one time and I seen this couple. They had to be at least 23 or 24. And I noticed, excuse me, I noticed the female was basically leading him. He was walking behind her, okay? And she had the dominant posture. Now, she was smaller than he was, but she was more, outward in her assertiveness than he was in the situation. And I could tell that he wasn't in the lead. So she was like, she saw me in the aisle looking at some socket sets for like, ratchets and wrenches and things. She was like, yo, are you a handyman? I looked at her and I looked at him and I'm like, For her to walk up and ask me, am I a handyman? And he's walking behind her, that means he obviously is not in the lead because a man wouldn't be having that. Don't be walking up to some random dude asking if he a handyman. What if he is a handyman? What if he hit on you and be like, oh, your man not a handyman. I'm a handyman. Look at my hands. They handy. How about these hands accompany you on a date? And get you away from goofball back here who don't know what the hell he doing. Okay? That's why you don't let your woman be talking to random dudes, because goofballs and other disrespectful dudes will try you. But that didn't happen. I was like, yes, I am a handyman of sorts. And she was like, oh, well, I'm trying to put a TV up on the wall. She was like, we need this kind of screw. And I was like, what does it look like? She said it got maybe 5 little sides on it. I was like, you need a hex screw. She was like, but it's a bolt. I was like, okay, so you need a bolt driver then. Okay. And I pointed them to the sets that, would be the tool for her to use. And the guy finally speaks up and was like, yo, that costs $20. I'm like, bro, you need these tools if you're y'all got a house? Y'all got an apartment together? They was like, yeah. I was like, bro, you're gonna need tools in your house to fix things. Like, you the man, you supposed to have a toolbox. Like, you're gonna need that in there. It was like, yo, can we bring this back? I'm like, bring it back. Bro, you need it. Your lady is out here asking a random dude, me, if I know how to fix it, and I do. You don't need me up in your woman's head like that. You already losing. Like, that is what the dude up here is talking about. We don't have viable men. That dude was not viable. Okay? He was totally not viable. And that made me a bit sad. I'm like, damn, this is everywhere. I drive up the street. This dude's sitting in the car while the woman is out there changing the tire. I'm like, whoa, why are you out here changing the tire? Old buddy in there, he just sitting there. She's like, oh, that's my son. I'm like, ma'am, he bigger than me. He needs to be outside that vehicle, at least helping you turn the wrench or turn the boat driver on the tire. Like, do something. This is what they mean when they say there's little to no viable men. And it starts in the home. It starts in the family. When the family is wrong, everything that comes out of the house is wrong. That's just a fact. The young girls and the boys, okay? Let me get back to this video.
And then, Scott, you toss in the influence of social media and how relationships today, they don't come from, in our era, happenstance and mingling, right? They come from swiping, and that further accelerates this issue. Am I right?
Oh, it's been the chaser to it. I mean, to have an honest conversation about this, we have to be honest, and that is that men and women have different mating criteria. One quarter of men saying economic viability is a key criteria in a mate. 3/4 of women say that is important. And when you're on a two-dimensional format, where now it's 1 and 2 relationships begin online, it used to be 1 and 4 just a few years ago, it gets distilled down to a small number of criteria. Specifically for men, it's does she look attractive? And specifically for men, is he able to signal his ability to garner resources in the future? An average attractive male on Tinder gets swiped less than 1% of the time. And there's 3 men on Tinder for every 1 woman. So you've distilled it, you've taken out one of the key components of mating dynamics, and that is vibe, humor, body language, pheromones, the ability to be, quite frankly, a little bit persistent in the pursuit of a romantic relationship. We have no third places anymore, no places to meet. People aren't going to bars, they aren't sports league, they aren't going to church, they aren't even going to work. So it gets distilled down to very 1 or 2 dimensional attributes. And the reality is women are much choosier than men, and they can apply those screens, and they allocate all of their attention to a small number of men that results in just essentially at the end of the day, a lack of opportunities. Chris Williams summarized it perfectly. He called it the high heels effect. In the last 40 years, more women have graduated from college than men, and they're not interested in mating with non-college grads. They now own more homes, single women, than single men. So what you have is women say they won't date anyone shorter than them, 50% of them. Effectively, what you have metaphorically over the last 40 years is women have been getting taller and taller, and men have been getting shorter and shorter. How many of us have said, I know a ton of great single women, they can't find a date? That's not true. They can't find a date, they can't find a man they find economically or emotionally viable. If we don't make a massive investment in young people and make more economically and emotionally viable men, we're going to see a lack of household formation, we're going to see a decline in the middle class, and we're going to see, quite frankly, just a lot of young men who are terrible citizens.
So is the answer to fix this economically, and who will champion this conversation? You felt obliged to compliment me at the outset because we had engaged on this a year ago, and here I am revisiting it. And I read into that the fact that you think that it's politically incorrect even to have this dialogue.
When you're seen as advocating for men because of the 300,000-year head start we've had, it seems somehow as anti-female. There's a lot of very unfortunate misogyny online that is masquerading as being pro-men. A lot of TikTok celebrities who talk about advocating for men, it's just thinly veiled misogyny. What do we need? We need more freshman seats in colleges. We need a massive investment in vocational training. We need to figure out a way to get more permitting for housing so young people can afford housing. We need to recognize our economic policies literally allocate wealth from young people to old people. The percentage of wealth that young people control under the age of 40 has been cut from 12% to 6%. These are concerted, deliberate decisions. We did away with the child tax credit. We don't want to make it any easier for people to have kids, but seniors just got their largest cost of living adjustment increase in history. We have made the decision to make it harder and more expensive for people to find each other, for people to mate, and for people to have children. And without children, we turn into Japan and Italy, and that is we go into population decline and our economy goes into decline. We are about to become a society by the turn of the century. There will be 8 times as many people over the age of 60 and half as many kids under the age of 5. Nursery schools will become these strange situations with old people staring through fences at these creatures they don't see in the wild called children. Is this the world we want? Do we want a lack of kids? Do we want a lack of ability to create households? The happiest, most prosperous, most purposeful people in America are middle-class families, and we have made a concerted decision to punch it in the gut and make it harder for that type of family formation, and we're going to lose prosperity, and we're going to lose purpose.
Last week, I delved here into recent data from the CDC suggesting
So that is that video is basically the basis of what I want to convey here. I want us to think about everything we've been trying to get underway. We've been in these protests. We've been out here waving guns around. We've been out here getting, harmed by these race soldiers, and we've been getting nowhere. We've been marching around in circles, and now we're kind of being forced to see what it is that we're dealing with. And this whole feminism thing is a lot of females have cut me off because of my stances on feminism and the abortion thing. And I'm just like, if this were 70 years ago, we would not be having this conversation. But they say, oh, well, 70 years ago was the old day. Was it the old day? Females will say, oh, well, 70 years ago, women didn't have rights. Didn't have rights to do what? Everything they needed to do, they could. And there was no rights that black men had over black women. So we were both in the same pot, and quite frankly, we're still in the same pot. It's just a more technical pot. Okay? It's a matter of interpretation at this point, and how well your eyeballs are able to see, and how discerning your brain is. When Kevin Sam mentioned the color purpling of the black community, that was not a fake thing. That was a real thing. I hated that movie because inside it made me feel uncomfortable. I was like, I don't agree with these dudes and the characters they're playing, but why do I feel uncomfortable? Because I knew that junk was not right. It was not. Now, were there some individuals in our past that were like that? Yeah, they really were. They were dirtbag black men. Okay, it was dirt bags. But guess what? They got handled. At the end of the day, they got handled. Stuff happened to them. Okay, you aren't going to do some woman wrong when she got brothers, sisters, uncles, cousins, and dudes that care about her. Especially if she was a good woman. There was a lot of good women back in those times. You understand? We had each other as black men and women. That's all we had. So we had no choice but to get along with each other. So I don't understand how. I don't get where we fall off when it comes to these lies that's being told, saying that black men have always been oppressive to black women. We ain't black men in America. Please, we some of the most tolerant men on the planet. Think about it. Black women can pretty much do damn near whatever you want. You wear damn near whatever you want, even though we object to it a lot. Okay? You take those same parameters and you put them in a different country, it's not going to be the same effect. You can't go anywhere in no Arab country. You're not going to Russia with it. Damn sure not going to China with it. Not going to Japan with it. Okay? You're not going anywhere with the ways we are, but in America. Okay? If you could be any more free as women, here is where you could be. But The thing is, when you have too much freedom, you make bad choices, which is why they wanted us to be so, which is why they wanted us to be so free. They know when you have too many options and you are not educated properly, you're gonna make bad choices. They know that. They know that. This is why when you have indecisive people who can never make a coherent choice in their life, they're everywhere. They're always talking about multitasking. No. Sometimes multitasking is you basically, what do you call it? What kind of analogy? I would say multitasking for a lot of people is you procrastinating, looking like you're doing something. You looking like you're doing just so much stuff, people say, oh, they're always busy. How much stuff they really getting done though? You're not free. When we regulated our kids' involvement with who they were, going to be, sexually involved with, that was a safer time. People say, "Oh, that's oppression." Is it? When T.I. went to the doctor with his daughter to make sure she was still, what she's supposed to be, they said, "Oh, he's being an oppressive dad. Why should he care about, her sexual, activities?" He should. That's how money changes hands. That's how empires are inherited. Think about the movie Black Panther. Okay? Had the Black Panther's brother, not made a kid when he went over here to America, the throne would have never been threatened. Sexual discipline, number one. When you go somewhere in a devil country where there's women, okay, you have to be on all your P's and Q's. You can't be out here with these females because you're going to compromise the mission and probably compromise yourself. Okay? Him being loose gave that boy the right to go and claim that throne, which he did. It's the same thing with us. When we loose out here, when we out here doing whatever with whoever, we basically are destroying our means of having, a clean society with clean lines. How many times have we seen, videos on TikTok where these brothers and sisters got kids by each other, but they only recently discovered that they was brother and sister? That's sloppy. You can't build no nation being like that. You can't. This is the reason why we had tight reins on who our kids were dealing with. This is the reason. Too much freedom is oppression. I know, I get on here and people be like, why are you preaching? I guess it's my job. I guess it's my job. I got to. Cause I do not want another person calling me talking about, oh, we got to deal with ozone. Bro, I know we gotta deal with ozone. I got 7 people in my life, man. Well, 5. Old buddy need $100,000. I'm pretty damn sure 5 of us is not gonna get Mr. Zone up out of the prison with the couple of dollars we got. So, talking about Mr. Zone, not gonna help right now. We all know Mr. Zone need us. Okay, I gotta get my memberships back up. I've been gone for a good minute. If I could throw him 100,000 right now, I would. But I said all that to say this right here. If we're going to be a nation, if we're going to be anything, if we're really going to rise and finally do something with this plight that we are suffering, we're going to have to look in our own houses and see where we messed up. Be brave enough to look in the mirror and be like, yo, I did my kids wrong. Yo, I did wrong by myself. Or I did my husband wrong. Or I did my wife wrong. Mending the families was what Kevin Sam was trying to do. People look right over that. You're more angry about him asking about your dress size than you are about him saying, hey, what was wrong with the man you left? Oh, I didn't like how he chewed his Cheerios in the morning. What? Oh, I didn't like how he bought me flowers all the time. What? Really? Some people you just can't please. But when we make things too free for people, we always make the wrong choice. When the last time you heard somebody say some vows at a wedding? For richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. Not until I get tired of you chewing your damn Cheerios all loud in the kitchen. Or not until I'm sick of seeing you leaving your lace front everywhere. She go leaving the lace front everywhere, go get her a mannequin head. Hey, Shonda, put that lace front on this mannequin head. So we can look like we don't got random crazy animals running around here. Put that thing away. Go to your counselor. That might help. I don't know. I love my people, man. I do. But we not ready to pick up no guns when we got dads that cannot even pick up their kids. You understand? We got to rebuild our families, man. More dudes out here are killing themselves and hopping off of bridges and you know, children themselves and doing whatever they do than there are in relationships. And you gotta think, 30 years from now, where is these dudes gonna be? there's not going to be any kids from them, so they're just gonna grow and be, double their age, but with nothing to show for it. Maybe they'll have a couple of $1 million. Maybe they will build. They would have built a nice empire for themselves that they can, pass on to charity or to a family member or something. Maybe, but where's the kid gonna be? Who's building the next warriors? Who's building the next, the next queen-like women, the next ladies? Where's all the ladies? I hear people, throwing the word lady around all the time, but I remember what ladies were like. There's a echelon, okay? You got streetwalkers, okay? You got females, you got women, then you got ladies, then you got queens, okay? But the lady, she can dilly-dally in between the queen and the lady. She can go in between there, back and forth. Ladies, they don't have to raise their voice. You know why? Because they use their femininity to persuade you to do what they need to do. They need you to do it. I bet. I had an aunt. She's still alive. She was a hellion back in the day, like they used to say. She would fight. But she's one of the most feminine people you ever want to meet. She's a very sweet individual. And I noticed a way about her. She's a, pastor and all. But even when she was angry, you could tell the femininity in her was speaking to you, and it caused you to do something, that whatever it was that she wanted. And it wasn't because she was weak. It was because she was a lady. Ladyship, ladyhood, or whatever you want to call it, that needs to become a thing again. There used to be feminine classes that ladies used to take in high school. They would get dressed up in frilly dresses and look nice and cook stuff. And the girls that took those classes were different. They wasn't like the girls in the hood. They were different. I miss that. I got a baby girl. I got an older daughter. I gotta call her, but I got a baby girl. I don't know if I want her to be a ninja or a princess. I don't know. Cause I'm thinking I might need to have her have a half ninja suit with with some tutu frillies at the end. I don't know. I don't want people to get too I don't want them to get too comfortable. Don't look at my baby like. No, we're not doing that. We bringing the old school back. I got to be around. Nope. But I'm gonna say this, man. This single parenting nonsense, it has to end. I know a lot of us, I'd say a good 92% of us are single parents, have been raised by single parents, or are right now becoming single parents. I know it's hard out here. I know it is. People say they're gonna be away to you, and you get with them, and then they flip flop. I know it happens sometimes, and then sometimes we be in the heat of the moment. Stuff is nice. We get caught up. I get it. But we gotta do better, man. If you're a woman, you've been abused in a relationship, okay, no man worth your sanity. Let that fool go. Same thing for the men. If you're a man and you being abused in a relationship by a woman, because it does happen. I've been through it. Okay, you need to let that go. Straight up, go to counseling. Take a break from relationships. Hell, go pray at church. Find you a good spiritual pastor, one that perform miracles and do real stuff, not these pastor offering types. The real ones. They don't play no games with you. Get you a deliverance pastor. Let them pray some of the spirits up off you. You know what I'm saying? Go do that. But we got to get right, man. We're not ready for no warfare. I don't want to see none of us hop out here and get destroyed. I want the Most High to be with us, But these are things that need to be said. I know it's a lot of us out here, a lot of females asking where's the real man, a lot of men asking where's, the good women. We out here, we just confused. We got too many good ones looking like the enemy. We have to once again draw the line in the sand. No more single parenting, no more hookup culture. I am about that life. Even if I got to be without. If a female walked away from me today, hey, oh well. Drop my baby off. Do you? We got to get back involved as fathers in our kids' lives. Stuff is hard. We got to do it. Either way, I love you all. Just say some prayers for me, man. And I remember you all, Miss Coney McIntosh. Thank you. You always had good stuff to say. And when you felt like I was falling off you got me on that too. So thank you for being the voice of reason in my little, struggle lives. He said, back in the day, the village helped look out for the kids, but now since the government added its 2 cents, these kids are out of hand. Yeah. I remember walking home from school and these ladies, they had to have been 80 years old at the time. This was like 89, 90. And we lived in a bad part of the neighborhood. And these ladies, anytime we walked past her house, she was out there and she seen us doing something wrong. She was like, I know your mama. I'm going to tell. You better get on home. Or I know your daddy. She was a stranger. But you know what? We respected our elders. Obviously, if she knew my mama, it didn't matter if she was a stranger to me or not. You understand? Now you say that to one of these single-parented kids whose mama left them in the car at the club while she was in there doing God knows what. Okay, these young kids grew up crazy in the head. They'll do anything. You tell them, give them some kind of instruction or, tell them you see them doing wrong, you might get shot in the face. Straight like that. I used to see, and during my years as a club security, I seen females come with their babies in the car. It'd be hella cold outside. Oh, my mic is echoing? Okay, I'm gonna get it straight, man. Thank you. Let me see. Is it echoing still? Let's see. But yeah, I did a couple of things out here in these streets, man. But I used to see people bring their kids to the club and leave them in the car. Kids be asking us for food. They be hungry. You don't want to give them anything because if something happened to them, you're responsible. So you just go in there, tell your mama to get out the club, go home. No more of that, man. Baby just woke up. I gotta go. Love y'all, man. Sorry about my technical difficulties. I'm still testing it out and trying to work out the bugs. But thank you for your feedback, Mr. Talk Black to Me podcast. Thank you for, your help. I need all I can get, man. Either way. Until next time. Love ya. Peace.
Everybody gangsta, but we never see you flexing on your true enemies. Hey, I forgive myself for what I plan to do to you. No more depending on a ghost to do what I need to do. Never will I beg for justice from the likes of you. Your destruction is my goal. I decided to let you know you are done here. I call upon the spirit of the beast, sleeping inside our people to awaken. I call for the spirit of warfare to come sit upon the south side. Hey, I forgive myself for what I plan to do to you. No more depending on a ghost to do what I need to do. Never will I beg for justice from the likes of you. Your destruction is my goal. I decided to let you know you are done here. All of your tricks, all of your schemes, evil dreams, and all of your lies, all of your murdering my people in the scheme of things just seems to be buying us time. Time to prepare, and shake this irrational fear of you. Time for us to shave our hair to prepare for the final fight with you. Hey, I forgive myself for what I plan to do to you. No more depending on a ghost to do what I need to do. Never will I beg for justice from the likes of you. Your destruction is my goal. I decided to let you know you are done here. Murder is your pleasure, kill for less. A devil tester, evil jester, nigga blesser. Always running with the beast. Whenever you get around, bullets flying, people dying, baby crying. Hear the siren, all destruction must increase. Government cooperation and alignment. Your assignment is to murder all the people of originality. You are never to be trusted. So disgusting is your presence. Manchurian candidate will destroy new society. Everybody gangsta, but we never see you flexing on your true enemies. Hey,